Something about males and females.
Hey, I'm recording right here. What's up, guys? Tom here from feelingtomplus.com, and welcome to podcast number 11.
That could be the topic of the night.
Let's not do that. I'm here with Phil.
Hi Phil, how are people?
I'm here with Janine.
Hi everyone.
And last week we spoke about, probably only going to go for about 10-15 minutes tonight. But last week we spoke about
Tools.
tools, and we talked about lead pages, which is how you build a capture page so you can start building a list. Now tonight we're going to talk about the other part of that equation, the other tool that you need, which is an autoresponder. And if you know how to build a lead page, if you did go and check out lead pages last week, you know how to build a lead page. So you can send somebody to that link, to that page, they can put their email in, and that's how you start building a list. But what you need on the behind the lead page is something you call an autoresponder, and that's what actually accepts the email or tracks the email and puts it in a list for you, so you can email them and follow up with them. And do you remember our first experience with an autoresponder?
My recollection is that it was when we first started getting some coaching, just my look at it, March 2012, and you'd been communicating with one of this person we were coaching with, and I can remember her sending notes back about how you needed to write your emails, and I can remember thinking, wow. I mean, what I'm trying to say is I had no idea about how to basically articulate an email.
Yeah.
And let alone what I would do with the autoresponder. So we had the autoresponder, it was an Aweber, and what we did was we got our first, we did some advertising with Facebook, we got our first leads. And then I was frozen, thinking, oh, we've got these leads, what do we say to them?
Just before you go on from there, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
But our actual first experience with an autoresponder was from Brett McFall.
Right.
It was from Brett McFall. And if I didn't say it clearly enough, an autoresponder is how you can start. You're getting a list of emails. So you got, I don't know, 10, 100, 1,000 different emails, and you can automatically send them with a touch of a button, one email to all of them.
Yeah, message, yeah.
That's what you do. So you don't have to. That's how marketers make a lot of money. They have a big list. Let's say, I don't know, they could have 10,000 people on 10,000 emails on a list, and they send out one email to all those 10,000 people and ask them to buy something. That's how you build a list. Or that's the thing with an autoresponder.
Yeah, part of the autoresponder, it's a software management tool that allows you to communicate with your clients, subscribers, customers, whatever you want to call them, whenever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a very, very, and I'd never heard of that, I didn't know it existed, but to be able to communicate with 1,000 people or 20,000 people in one hit, it's a very, very powerful medium.
It is, and they make it really. It sounds complicated. It sounds like when you say that to somebody who hasn't heard it before, you would think, how the hell do I do that? It sounds complicated. But the way they've actually got them set up nowadays is like super, super easy. Like they're really, you still have to learn it, and it might take you a couple. They've got tutorials and stuff, but it's pretty simple, I think. But our first experience was with Brett McFall. We went to a seminar. We've told this story a couple of times, and we got this guy's course. It was our first internet business course, and I remember the first thing we were doing after that seminar, it was like a week after the seminar, we had the course, and the first thing you had to do was go to a site called bigpixie.com, which was a website builder.
That's right.
And I was trying to build a website trying to sell Banish Bad Habits, which was a PLR ebook, 30 pages. It was a piece of crap. And
PLR's private.
Yeah, and a part of that was putting
license rights.
Yeah, part of that was putting a opt-in form on the page, and the autoresponder that he said, I don't know if he called it an autoresponder, I'm not sure, but he said go and get mine. It was called World Internet
Summit.
No, that's the seminar name. It was called World Internet office.
Yeah.
And I remember going in there and just thinking, what the hell is this? It looks so technical. I had no idea. And that was our first thing with an autoresponder. I don't know if it ended up working. I can't remember. Dad's got a bit of
Hiccups.
with the burps going on here. But then I don't know when our next autoresponder would have been. I would say it was probably Carbon Copy Pro. That's the only thing I could think of. Because they would give us a page and we would have set it up with our autoresponder. I would have thought. I'm not sure.
My recollection is Aweber was the next.
I know Aweber was definitely our first. Well, after that we got on to Aweber. So that's what an autoresponder does. That's what our first experience with it is. There's multiple different autoresponders out there, and they keep it really simple. The big main ones that I can think of are Aweber, which is the one we use. There's Get Response and there's Eye Contact, I think.
Yeah,
MailChimp.
Infusionsoft, MailChimp. Okay, there's a couple more.
Yeah.
They all do the same thing. They're just different.
And so,
they're just different brands or companies or something.
So I guess the principle behind that is that if you're going to build an online business, if you're going to make money online, the question you've got to ask yourself: how do you communicate with your leads or your customers or your clients, your future clients?
Yeah.
So that's what we're saying. Just reiterating, it's a software management tool. Like any tool, it's just something you learn to use. And I think that in the beginning, I never really got bogged down. But once you'd given me that initial tutorial from that initial coach, I didn't get bogged down too much on how to write the emails. We'd had a couple of different coaching areas there. And in our first, we spent, when we did our solo ads, we did about 28 solo ads. Those emails that we sent to those solo ad leads worked very well. We've got a lot of activity, and it proved that that email medium worked. People went to our blog. They, you could see in your back office, you could see a lot of clicks, a lot of activity. And it was really only since Janine's come on board in the last 9 months to a year has she sort of looked at the emails and the Aweber process and sort of drilled into it and improved our look of the emails 100%, basically. Yeah. So I sort of write them pretty well each night, fresh, just because we're sort of, I guess we're into it. Basically, it's our business. Yeah. So, what's your thoughts on autoresponders? You've got a totally different skill sets with autoresponders and your list management skills.
Mine's more from the system orientated point of view. So I would say to everybody, you're never too small to start, because it doesn't matter how many people you have on the list. Really, one, because you've got to write an email anyway.
Well, that's a great point that you bring up. I'm interrupting you, sorry, but it's a great point you bring up because you're never too small to start. Well, it's I don't know if it's the right words, but it's true, because one of the first things you should be doing, unless you get into like a business opportunity like we're in, where they give you pages to market, like a business in a box type thing, they give it to you and all you have to do is send traffic. One of the first things you should be doing is learning how to build a capture page and use your autoresponder so you can start building a list. There's a common term that you're going to hear in internet marketing all the time, and they're always going to be talking about building your list, getting leads, and they're always going to say the fortune, what do they say? The fortune is in your list, or the fortune is in the follow-up.
The money is in the list.
Yeah, they say the money's in the list, the fortune's in the follow-up. And the follow-up is the email. So once they've gone and they've opted in, they've given you their email for whatever reason, whether you're giving away a free product, video series, or they've bought something from you, doesn't matter what it is, then you have to follow up with them. You have to say, hey, go over here and click this link to buy this. And you don't just say it once, you say it again and again and again. It's like in sales, there's a second ask, there's a third ask, there's a fourth ask. You keep asking for the sale. And that's what the follow-up is. And
and
that's
and you use it for an upsell.
that's how you market to them. You constantly say, go over here and get this. And Dad just said before that he writes them fresh, which is a good thing. But with an autoresponder, what you can do, and this is maybe how you want to start, but you probably want to get in the habit of writing fresh, one a week or something. But what you can do is you can automatically set the emails up. So as soon as somebody gets on your list, you could have 30 pre-written emails set up to go out at certain times of the year. So you could have 30 emails going out over the next 6 months if you wanted to do it that way. And it's automatic. You don't have to think about it. People get it at the same time whenever you set it, and it's a way to automate your follow-up, which is a good thing. But back on to what you were saying, Mum.
Well, I'm just saying that initially a lot of people will turn around and say, look, I don't need an autoresponder because I only got 5 people on my list and I can send them an email anyway.
Well, how do you get a list? Well, this is where I'm ignorant. How can they say that?
Well, they might have 5...
The only way they can have a list is with an autoresponder, isn't it?
No, because you can create a list on a spreadsheet for yourself.
Oh, okay.
And you can try and maintain it. You can have your names.
How would they get the email though?
In Gmail. If they've got contacts and they send out an initial email to someone and say, are you interested in looking at something? And that person says, yeah, whatever. So some people might try to manually do it.
I would.
And all I'm saying is that you might be able to do it for 5 or 10 people, but you're better off learning while you've got the 5 or 10 people how to use the system, get the system in place that suits you. You might be more inclined to say, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a whole day and I'm going to write 7 emails and I'm going to have 7 weeks of emails all ready to go. And that suits you and that's the way you want to work. Phil, he does a daily email. I wouldn't do that because I would sit down at the computer every night and go, oh my gosh, what am I going to talk about?
This brings up a point, and maybe it's contradicting your point, I don't know, but you can't, as far as my knowledge goes, it doesn't matter if they're in your contacts, you can't take those emails, if they're on your list or something, and then put them into an autoresponder, because they have not opted in to a list. They're just on your contact list.
What I'm saying is, if you've got a contact list in Gmail, it doesn't matter whether you've got 10 people or 500,000 people, right? And you send them an initial email saying, would you be interested in going on my newsletter list? Right? So that's your initial opt-in.
Yeah.
And say...
Yeah, they have you have to send them a link to a page to opt in.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, what I'm saying is it's a very, very tedious task if you're going to do that initially without an autoresponder. So that's what I'm saying.
I think, we've got to be trying to appreciate that, this conversation's going down a different track. And I just think that for the average person out there, that they don't even probably know what an autoresponder is, probably. They don't really even know how to build a list. And so the fundamentals of an online business is to build a list.
Well, I think it's okay to go down, so I'm interrupting you there, but I think it's okay to go down a track where it's a bit more advanced talk, as long as we qualify it at the end and give them some action points.
Okay.
Do you agree or not agree? I don't know.
Because, well, if I was, as a new person, all I need to know is I need to be aware that one of the great, business models is building a list. The money's in your list. You could hear that. We could extrapolate on that. The money's in your list. Well, no, I don't know about that. It's about building a relationship with your list. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to build your list. Okay, so does that mean 5 people, 10 people, 100? We've been through this already in this conversation. So people just have to get their head around the fact that they need to build a list. Well, how do you do that? Well, there's a couple of tools that you need, and you're going to have to think about the idea of having a capture page to capture emails, which we talked about last week, through lead pages, and you're going to have that linked to an autoresponder, and we're using Aweber. So if they can get their head around that, and we were talking about communicating through Aweber each night with our client base. So, you know, there's some there's some really key ingredients in building a 6-figure business online. You know, and I keep going over the same points. You know, point number one is that idea of, you know, understanding, is there any money in the niche that you select? You've got to be able to select a niche. You've got to know your, what they call an avatar. These are big points. Point two is having a business model, and we could waffle on about business model infinitum. But now, what's appearing, points 3 and 4, is this issue of a capture page and an autoresponder, list building, and they're sort of, so that, can you see how they're popping up early in the point? And I've got to tell you, it took me a long time to get my head around it. I think you got your head around it much quicker than me, but in the end I was the one, for whatever reason, that was writing the emails, and I found that a struggle. And I've got to say that even we have a system now, don't we, that actually has done for you emails. You know, it has, amazing. You know, that's what sort of come later on, and that's a great advantage for a new person, because they just don't have the legs and the ability largely to write these emails each day.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a couple of things in that to know that, yes, build a list. You need to learn about the idea of capturing information. You need to learn about using software a software management tool, which is an autoresponder. And yes, you can actually have done for you emails. They're already pre-written.
Yeah, so I think that pretty much wraps it up. Do you have anything to say?
I was just going to say, with Aweber, again, like I was talking about last week with lead pages, they do have an email, a newsletter. Make sure you get on that. And when you first get started, there is a getting started guide, and if you actually go through that, it makes it a lot simpler than probably what some people around the table would have done here and thought.
But let me tell you something a little bit about business, Mum. Okay? The key to business is winging it. Okay? I don't want to watch a video that goes for 5 minutes, and I know they're going to waffle on for 2 minutes, and I can't stand that 2 minutes. It'll kill me. So I'm going to take an hour to just bludgeon my way through it.
Yeah, we'll spend 500 hours longer than what is totally necessary. So if you actually use the tools that Aweber provide, and you won't find it as such a struggle. And I really don't think you will find it a struggle if you listen to it, because they have their weekly blog and they have their training.
I think I really like that point, because, you know, me particularly, I was so often, because I didn't have the coaching and the mentoring, I was so often looking at the next shiny object. But the strength of Janine coming into the team is she's been able to actually, what are these tools? And so she actually, as she just said, it would be one of the best things you could do is just have a look at their emails, because they're really, really good. They're really educational. Lead pages, you know, the guy that runs at Clay, his emails, they're going to teach us some of the big things that go on. So instead of chasing shiny objects and the latest what they perceive is going to, you know, make you $1 million tomorrow, just get your head around the tools and tap into those tools. And I think Janine's tapped into that for us.
Yeah.
Because you didn't do it, I didn't do it. But in building a team, you know, she's added a dimension to the team. And I would say to a new person, well, there's nothing wrong with, you know, tapping into there and just becoming good at those basic skills.
Yeah, and let me add on to that they have I think they have a chat line on Aweber that you can get onto. And if you can find, whenever you're trying to do anything, if there's a chat line, an actual chat, not like a phone call, like a text chat that they have on there, use it. Because I don't think I've ever been on one where it hasn't helped me. HostGator, Aweber. I was on Lead Pages. I was on one the other day. I forget what it was for, and it solved my problem. I think it was eBay. I was on an eBay one.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, what am I doing here? And they just said, bang. Because you're talking to a live person who is an expert at that tool or whatever. So get on the chat line. So we've been going for 20 minutes here. Do we just want to wrap it up with some, I don't know, action points? 1, 2, 3. Last week we talked about lead pages. So you got to get a lead page to be able to capture page. So get lead pages, leadpages.net.
Where would they get that if they wanted to get it?
I would imagine that Mum's going to put a link in the description
The link is
below.
the link. I put on the website last week, and it was under the podcast, and it was also in the article. So you will find it on the website. And
we would make a little bit of money out of that, and we're not too proud to.
It's an affiliate, yeah. But go through that link because we make some money.
Yeah, and Aweber will do the same thing.
Yeah. So below this podcast, there will be a link to get your autoresponder. So
Actually, what I'll do with Aweber is I will attach for you. Also, there will be a link there, but I will put in the article. I will put an introduction video for you, so you can have a look at the video. Tom is looking up.
That's one that you've already got, right? I don't have to go and make that, do I?
It's an Aweber introduction video.
I'm just saying.
You should have seen the look on his face. He tries to just say,
I've got to make another one.
I've got to make another video.
The other thing is that at the very bottom of our blog, our webpage, our blog, is that Janine's put together a gallery of tools, and they sort of just flow. That one appears and the next appears.
It is there all the time.
Yeah, it's there all the time, and you can get your Aweber autoresponder, you get your lead pages, you can just click on it once it shows up, and bang, you're off and running. These are tools that we use, so we're not talking about flogging your stuff that we don't use.
If we don't use it, it ain't on there.
Yes. So let's wrap this up. If you watched last week's podcast, you'll be all up on how to build a lead page. The next step is to get an autoresponder. To do that, the link is below. The link to the autoresponder we use is below. And go over there, check that out, get one. And also, if you have any questions, you can put them in the comment section below the podcast, or actually do that. But also, don't forget the chat line that is on Aweber, where they can help you out better than us probably as well. So do that. So that's it. Wrapped it up.
Have a great week.
Thank you.
See you later, guys. Good night.